People, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur, and this is going to be our Twitter reacts after what was a very strange game against Galatasaray last night. 3-2, could have been 7-0, could have been us winning at the end 4-3. We had some chances at the end once we went down to 10 men. Bizarre game. It did kind of feel like Spurs were put through a hell of some sort by Galatasaray, just being a very strange, just manner of a football match. Just had just a lot of different elements to it, parts where we just were completely outclassed, parts where Galatasaray looked like a bit of a basket case of a team because they do look very weak at the back. A very interesting game. Will Lankshear scored, which feels really good, but then also the nature of performance, kind of takes it down a notch in terms of, how good you feel after that one. Hopefully everybody, though, is doing okay this Friday. Looking forward to the Ipswich Town game where we get to end off, this little period of games before the international break in the right note, on the right type of vibe. And let's hope for a big win this Sunday. But we're going to react to this Galatasaray performance with some Twitter, mostly kind of funny stuff, not really too much doom and gloom. And I think that's because most people were kind of going into this game a little bit iffy anyways, Dave.
Yeah, look, for me, Jack, don't get me wrong, I don't like losing, I hate losing, but I'm not downhearted about it. I'd rather beat City and Aston Villa. I think coming off the back of two big games like that, I think the Galatasaray game was always going to be tough, especially with the injuries we've accumulated. Where I become a little bit maybe frustrated or annoyed with the defeat more so is the away problems continue again. When teams get physical with us, don't give us time on the ball, we don't really know how to handle it. And I think the leaders again sort of let us down last night. So it is what it is. But look, the big game is this weekend. We win that, all's forgiven.
There you go. We have Mark in the house with us. Bergval, Maddison, and Dragusin. Look away now. Definitely not a good night for them. Donovan
Yeah.
Striker. I don't want Richarlison to play for our club anymore. I'm sorry, Pamba, but this project only works if you can stay fit enough to
Yeah.
contribute any meaningful minutes when your time comes. I think that's where I'm also getting a little bit fed up with Richarlison as well, Donovan. I was a big defender of his last season. I think for the most part, quite, pretty justified because I think he was very effective for us when he was available and fit. It's just that only seems to happen so often, with Richarlison. He's just never fit, doesn't really get the rub of the green. It feels like with the medical team or any sort of setbacks or anything like that. The guy's had it really tough, but you can't just hang on to another Gio Lo Celso like Richarlison. He's become a Gio Lo Celso, Dave. A Sessegnon.
It's becoming very frustrating because despite a lot of questions around his quality, when he actually plays for Tottenham, he contributes in goals or assists a lot of the time when he plays for Tottenham. So there is a player there, but it's just how frequent do we get that? He's been here, just over 2 years now? And the longest run we've had him for was 9 games. It's nowhere near good enough. And look, I'm at the point now for the better of Tottenham Hotspur. I think you have to cash in. Despite I like him, Richarlison, I have a lot of empathy towards what he's gone through, especially mentally, the last couple of years. But we're a football club, and at the end of the day, he's got to move on, I think, come January, maybe this summer.
MV Joker Davis, I just wanted to win. Why? Come on, Kulu. Good to see you with us, Edward. Darren Johnson. Oi, gents. Good to have you with us, Darren. Dan Davenport is in the house as well. Sloppy goals for Spurs to concede yesterday, but Spurs should still qualify for the Europa knockouts.
Yeah.
I think that's very sensible from you there, Dan. We also have another Dan Army in the house. If we played our best squad, we would have walked that game. Definitely showed our kids are not ready and our back four is weak as piss. To be honest, I think with the kids, like, can you really fault Lankshear much at all? He didn't have any service of any kind. It was really more guys like Dragusin, other players in the back line that really struggled to play out from the back for us. And everyone was just really sloppy on the day. So I think you can give guys like Lankshear an excuse. Lucas Bergval had a real stinker. So I guess he gets, kind of thrown in there as well in terms of guys that maybe were letting us down. Archie Gray, in my opinion, wouldn't know if you would throw him in that category. I thought he actually tried his very best out there to contribute, especially in possession. Yes, he has some work to do defensively, but I don't think he was part of the problem that we were experiencing with dealing with that Galatasaray press and that pressure. I don't think he, would be part of the problem. And, for the most part, I think you can exempt the kids. I think you have to look at guys like Dragusin is young, but you have to look at guys like him. You have to look at guys like Maddison. You have to look at guys, kind of like Bergval, sadly, that were just really off it on the day.
I also think there has to be a little bit of understanding, like the kids, in order to be able to get them ready, you have to play them in these types of games. You're not going to be ready if you don't put them in these sort of atmospheres. You don't give them these sort of game time, and plus, they have to come in and be able to relieve others. And so far, they've done a darn good job. You know, if Mikey Moore didn't take the reins in the second half against Alkmaar, wouldn't have got over the line. Youngsters contribute against Karabag, Ferenc Faro. So I just think, again, emotions are maybe taking over, the bigger picture here. I get it. No one likes losing. Everybody hates losing at Tottenham Hotspur. It's frustrating. But at the end of the day, in order to build something, in order to bring these youngsters through, you've got to expose them to these sort of games, and we've done that. You're not going to win every single game across the season doing it 100%. Take that for granted. But, they will learn from it, and they'll benefit from it in the long run, which means Tottenham will.
Ilmatic saying, such bad luck. Mikey caught a virus. He would have gotten a serious game time versus Galatasaray or even Ipswich Town. Very good point from Ilmatic. And then Tyler's in the house as well. Come on, you Spurs. Hope all is well. A win Sunday, and I could care less about yesterday. I think a few people probably feel very similarly to you there. Tyler, Adam Phillip, worst performance since the Lloris's final game at Newcastle. I wouldn't go that far, Adam.
I think Palace was worse.
I think Palace was worse. I think we've seen worse performances, maybe even this season, or even just recently under Ange Postecoglou. I don't think that one. I think that was just a strange game. Yes, we got absolutely railroaded by Galatasaray at times, but I don't think that was necessarily down to the team. I think that was down to just certain players that were really just having a real stinker out there and just were dragging everybody else down kind of with them, unfortunately. And that can happen, and we really suffered because of it. But to be honest, I don't really think Galatasaray were all that much. At the end of the day, they didn't really impress me, to be honest. But Dave, let's get into it. Twitter Reacts time. See what these people have to say. If everyone who is watching can for us, smash that like button, get into the comments, and feel free, if you want, to become a member and support the channel. Members preview is happening just after this. So if you wanted to get an exclusive match preview ahead of the Ipswich Town to sink your teeth into, welcome to do that and become a channel member. But Neo saying Van de Ven, Romero, Dragusin, Dave. One is better than the other. One is an upgrade, and it's maybe Dragusin not on the same level as Romero and Van de Ven.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever witnessed Tyron Sanchez play as bad, as consistently bad over 90 minutes as he did yesterday. He was atrocious. Positionally, he was all over the shop. Possessionally, he was all over the shop. Kept on giving away a ball, which was catching him out of position. He was just absolutely all over the place yesterday. If he wasn't a professional athlete, I probably would have brought out a breathalyzer, to be quite frank. It was absolutely atrocious from him. And look, this is my biggest frustration. You've got someone like his agent coming out, asking Ange to switch to a back three, constantly putting pressure on the club by speaking to the press about his client, about him getting more game time. Okay, no problem. We'll give him game time. Look what he went and done yesterday. Sometimes these agents are better speaking off to their client and going, hang on, why are you not in the team? Let's analyze it. Let's have a look at it. Rather than blame the club the whole time. Don't want to hear any more from that fucking idiot agent of his.
Yeah, no, he definitely has to stay quiet for a little bit of time here. Gus is saying, we're in phase. Let's make every game we play harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, that's true.
And then Gus, actually, Dave, I thought this was brilliant. That little clip from Bentancur, if you recall, where he had that little bit of lovely skill in midfield here. Bissouma loses it. And if you can make it out, Bentancur, right, was able to get past all these Galatasaray players, then sadly gave it away afterwards. But a lot of people had some praise for Bentancur's performance when he did come on. SW Spurs saying, where Romero goes, it's going to become so apparent how important he was to this team. Careful what you wish for. Every defense needs a leader. Leadership qualities, I think, are still being brought into question when it comes to Romero. But certainly, Dave, leader by example. The guy's just class on the ball, makes the right decisions, is pretty much never intimidated by anybody that he comes up against. He's probably a lot better than maybe we, give him credit for. It's almost like Spurs fans have come to take Romero for granted, saying that they're happy to sell him to Real Madrid and, things like that. It's just, you can see the class difference between Dragusin and Romero, easily on that day.
To be fair, me and you, I actually think, give him a lot of credit and do give him these props. And it's actually something I've said. Be careful what you wish for. If this guy does go, I think you'll only realise how good he was in terms of in possession, but also defensively, and also how much of a rarity he is, but how hard he hits people in this modern day and age. I think he's a very, very good defender. I think he's absolutely class. You take him out of the back. Don't get me wrong. He's had his moments this year, but what people don't take into account earlier on in the season, he was using them games to gain match fitness because he was so late back and only had, I think, half a football in that Bayern Munich friendly before the season kicked off. But Romero is a world-class defender, and that's why the likes of Real Madrid are circling. Hopefully we can keep their grubby paws off him, and we can keep him. And because I'm not being funny, Dragusin doesn't fill me with confidence. I'm not going to write him off, with his career at Tottenham Hotspur. But one thing I question is, can he become so much better on the ball? I'm one of them. I believe you either have it or you don't. And I don't think he will grow to become better on the ball. And I think that'll be a concern in the long run for Postecoglou.
You would usually have to see the initial signs of, a player having that type of technical
Yeah.
skill, but with Dragusin, he doesn't really seem to have any at the moment in time, and it can be. It's not like it's too late, but it's sometimes you wanna see at least the foundations of a technical player before, you start to really retain that hope that they can improve on.
Mm.
He's got a lot of work to do in possession, he really does. Moby Spurs saying, "Honestly, I've never experienced anything like what Galatasaray served up tonight. Their fans were utterly relentless. My ears are still ringing hours later. We sang loud, we gave it everything, but F me, they were different gravy. We need to take 10% of this back to the lane." Bull crowd.
Unbelievable.
Do you
Unbelievable.
feel like, Dave, that it's just something unique to Turkey, unique to that footballing culture, just how loud they are? Is that something that the UK would ever be able to replicate? Sometimes it's just different ways of, I guess, participating in a match. I do feel like, in Germany, they're very singy, they're not as much kind of, talking about the game. They kind of just sing the whole time, nonstop. Turkish fans are just, absolutely just, laser focused, into the game with every single emotion and everything put into it. Sometimes it's just different cultures, different countries just maybe provide different atmospheres.
They do. They do. I think, look, sometimes in the Premier League, I think sometimes the atmosphere can be dampened a little bit because before the game, you've got people sort of having a good time, having a few beers, sing-songing. But over the course of 90 minutes, if you're not having beers, that sort of wanes a little. I think in Germany, you can actually bring beers out to the stands,
Hmm.
if I'm correct. So that's why they're jumping up and down for 90 minutes, and it continues and it gets louder as the game goes on. But in Turkey, it's a different ball game altogether. I've listened to the likes of the late Kevin Campbell. He was out there, and there was another player, another English player, I call him Kazim Richards, and there was another one that all went out there, and it's a different level altogether. They were saying that. These fans, they're in the stadium 4 hours beforehand,
Yeah.
you warming up, getting the atmosphere going, jumping up and down. You see when they sign managers, players, they sell out the stadium for them just to come and witness them, they grace the turf. It's complete different out there. They eat, sleep, and breathe football. And, when you listen to some of these ex-players, they're like, you dare not lose a game because you're not allowed to leave the stadium because they're out there waiting for you. They're going to tell you. They're going, it's a different story out there. I would like to see us be a lot more louder in terms of Premier League atmospheres. I do think that's something we can bring, but I question how much the Premier League actually want it with all these rules they seem to put in place to try and dampen it. Because it is something that Premier League clubs are trying to do. I hear a lot of it lately, actually. You see Tottenham bringing in the likes of the trumpet guy on that right to try and boost sort of atmosphere. There's Burnley, when they were doing their documentary, they were talking about what songs to put on before the game, if there was a drummer in the crowd that wanted to try and help create atmosphere. It is something Premier League clubs are generally trying to gear towards, but I don't think they have the know-how.
Yeah, no, maybe they don't. Interesting comment from Tigers 29 saying, "Why don't we put the away fans up top and out of sight like
True.
Newcastle do? Why do we need? What we need to make the stadium atmosphere more like Galatasaray?" Now, Dave, part of the reason maybe they do put the away fans a little bit lower is because I do think there's probably a selfish want by, I don't know, Daniel Levy as well as the club to make it, so that the away fans enjoy their experience at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So they would
Yeah.
want to come back. They spend money there. They feel like maybe they can go extra early, enjoy some of the pleasantries that come with going to such a nice stadium. I think that's part of it. So sadly, maybe it's in the interest of Daniel Levy and others to make it a decent enough of an experience for those traveling away fans. But then the other reason is technically, if they are far and out of sight, you can't do the classic, kind of jabbing back and forth, over the seats, right? You can't just be right in their ear, kind of pointing towards them.
Mm.
creating those little bits of rivalries with yourself and another fan across the aisle. So I think that's kind of what you lose if you do put them, way up there, is that you don't get to technically see them
Yeah, but I also think that's probably benefit us at home, to be quite frank. Out of
then.
sight, out of mind, Jack.
True.
Um, Look, Newcastle do it. You go to their away section, you're high up in Geordie Air. You know what I mean? Way out of sight. West Ham, similar. I do think it's something we could probably look at. I do think, when I was at the North London Derby, it was hard seeing their fans actually have good seats at the stadium, a pitch side as well. Some of them, which I don't really like, Jack. For me, if they're ruckus and they make good noise, the players will hear them, and you sort of giving their players sort of that momentum away from home by doing it. For me, put them high up in the stands. Don't make sure they're not heard, and just make sure that the team playing know they're properly away from home.
Yeah. Nahit Masir saying there's a saying in Turkey, you don't go to a match if you want to sit down in the stands. So I think that's very obvious that you wouldn't be able to sit down in a Turkish stadium. Such a great atmosphere. RC saying celebrated that Will Lankshear goal like we've been boys since day one. Bro thinks he's part of the team. Dave, was that you over the watch along, giving Will Lankshear a hug, kind of giving him a chest bump, over the TV if you could?
Look, Will actually knows my support for him. He's well aware of it. And, congratulations. I was like a proud father yesterday, Jack. What we're starting to see is some of these players that I've been speaking about for a long time start to emerge and have that impact that many people doubted could they have it. And one thing I do think by them doing it, it is bringing more and more people around to the idea. And one thing where Pochettino got time and got the adulation of the fan base and brought the squad and the fans together is we brought through academy players, which really helped the process kick along, really brought the fans on side. And I think the same is starting to happen here now under Postecoglou.
Sergeant Sonny, Spurs full time going into the game. Don't really care if we lose this game. Spurs full time when we lose the game.
Yeah. Oh, true.
The last half an hour showed me that we will win this tournament comfortably. Hardest place to go. We could have won with 10 men and an 18-year-old center mid at left back. Lankshear goal, and he competed well too. Pretty rubbish game, but overall, I'm not complaining. I kind of come away with a similar feeling. Like, I'm not really actually that impressed by Galatasaray. I knew they were going to be a difficult team to begin with. I already was showing them, that bit of respect, when it came to their forward line. They do have good players, in the attack. But God, I don't know. That defense looks suspect to me. If we had our full capacity, if we had our full players available, if we were playing well in a game like that next time around, if everybody was, let's say a bit more just focused, or I don't know, just having a better game, because just everybody's, was just being dragged down by each other. If Spurs play 10, a couple of times better than that, I don't know. I just think we overwhelmed that Galatasaray team, and we just simply put 2, 3, 4 past them.
Look, I think that was the disappointing thing for me last night. Anytime we did go forward, they were so open. A lot of the times we end up picking the wrong pass. But when we brought on our better players, Bentancur, Sarr, Kulusevski, Solanke, we changed the stem of the game. And we were down to 10 men, by the way. But we stopped them creating chances, and we started going up the other end and creating a few of our own. Yeah. I'm not really too worried. At the end of the day, we played a really sort of weak inside yesterday. Okay, we got caught, but in the knockout stages, we're not going to be playing the likes of Bergvall and people like that in the midfield. You're going to be playing your strongest players, so I'm not too concerned.
Yeah. Prof Spurs saying, I've been optimistic lately about Dragusin improving on the ball, but that optimism has taken a severe
I've been saying it from
hit.
day one.
Yeah, I think mine is taking a severe hit as well in terms of, how quickly he can improve. Echo saying Udogie actually got to rest.
That's true, actually. I didn't think about that.
He didn't have
Finally.
to be brought on after 10 minutes.
Did we even have him on the bench yesterday? Did we have to leave him at home to rest him? Was he even on the bench?
I think he was on the bench, but no, we just didn't use him at all. Abby saying, what a finish. He's too good. As a little David Harris flick.
Oh, it was absolutely beautiful, Jack. It's absolutely phenomenal. But what I love about it is, the patience. Pedro Porro didn't panic in that position. He showed great patience. He waited for Solanke to make the move and played a brilliant ball. And then, once you play a ball like that, Solanke's flick, absolutely great to see. Yeah. And you know what? That flick sort of resembles a player that's starting to grow in confidence in front of goal, which I think could be exciting for Tottenham fans.
True, actually, that's a fair point. You only
You don't
do
do that
that
if you're not confident, right?
and kind of the way he executed it, it's just so clean. It's just really so clean. He kind of just nonchalantly kind of does it. Spurs Express and Postecoglou on Archie Gray's potential. I think we'll get so much more growth out of him because he's not even playing in his
Mhm.
position yet. Like I said, I think I will make the distinction between Bergvall's performance and Archie Gray's and Dragusin's and Archie Gray's. I don't think you can lump Archie Gray into the same bracket as some of the other younger players that, maybe didn't have a good day, like Dragusin, like
Mhm.
Bergvall. But I think Archie Gray, you can give that distinction towards. I think he actually was not saying very much, but he was definitely one of the better
Yeah.
players out there actually on the day. Seb Martin saying a fully fit Bentancur starts in our best team every day of the week, by the way, showed again coming on tonight how important he is. I felt like you could see the difference, right in front of your eyes, Dave, between him and Bissouma. Bissouma ballooning touches off of him, taking way too many touches as well. You know how I get a little frustrated with that when I feel like he's just carrying it for no reason when he has passes available to him. Just also the decision making that Bentancur makes in most opportunities is just that much better. Just a much tidier midfielder than Bissouma, in my opinion.
One gives you a clinic of how to give the ball away, and one gives you a clinic of how to keep the ball and under pressure and get Tottenham moving forward. I think with Bentancur there, the not only does he offer us a lot more defensively and in possession, like we speak about, but I almost feel like the fluidity of our attacks, they come a lot more when we have Bentancur playing on the pitch than when we have Bissouma on the pitch. I think Bissouma takes too much out of it. And when he doesn't give it away, he's after slowing everything down. Whereas Bentancur, usually it's 1-2 touches, punts it forward. Or even if he's on the ball taking touches, they're forward. He keeps that momentum. We create a lot more chances with Bentancur on the pitch. It's not even a competition anymore.
He does seem so much
Bissouma's
zippy.
backup. That's it.
He's just so much zippier about like the way that he does play as well. It just seems a bit more like Basuma is a bit more relaxed, the way that he does try to carry it through midfield. And Bentancur just seems just kind of just like a little jackrabbit in there, just wired, the way that he's playing.
Mhm.
Talking THFC, Tom Hotspur Club since 1882. Last week you mentioned that we're back, but today you tell me it's over. What has changed?
uh,
Cotton.
Definitely therapy sometimes.
Cotton saying Batshuayi's on the Galatasaray's bench. How
Yeah,
many striker do these efforts have? Yeah,
yeah.
all too many. Just like
And
at
that's the
Man
thing.
City.
We spent years being told you can only have one. You know what I mean? Dave Osman, like what's that guy, cardio, whatever, Batshuayi. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
And even Yilmaz is, I think, technically a striker as well for them. But they just, they're like Man City with center backs. Ron saying lost 3-2, but we got a Lankshear goal.
It's too far. It's funny, but it's too far. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely delighted for Lankshear, but I don't like losing.
This one was almost making the thumbnail. Josh saying, call this the Diego Costa brace.
Oh, brilliant.
Very good. Very good.
I miss Diego Costa.
Me too. Ron saying Matters only showed up to Turkey for a hair transplant.
Do you know what? Really disappointed with Maddison last night. I felt last night was a real opportunity for him to grab the bull by the horn, show a lot of leadership, step up, lead the likes of Bergvall and that, Will Lankshear in this sort of game. And to be honest with you, he done absolutely fuck all. Anytime he got the ball, he kept on giving it away. Um, Really poor by Maddison. Really, really poor. Really let down. And I don't want to be getting on his case, but the only reason why I am is because it's not like he's a bad footballer. This guy is a really, really good footballer. Really intelligent footballer as well when he's in possession. But I'm starting to think, Jack, do we have to have conversations of maybe is he suited to that midfield? Do we now need to look at him as a player that plays off the left or the right rather than a player through the middle?
Yeah. Just wonder with Madison if he's again losing out on that spot from Kulusevski for the number 10 role. And then his, you know, Pab Montasar's form right now is also just really making it difficult for him to
Yeah.
just get that automatic start in the team. I still have a lot of faith in Madison, but I did find this meme very funny from Ron. Mr. Black saying, you killed the man, but not the idea. This is unbelievably reactionary,
Yeah.
but he'll probably get the views so loud.
He wasn't wrong.
Fraser Forster, first half highlights, Dave.
Yeah, honestly, that's what it seems like. The guy, how slow was he diving yesterday? It was absolutely ridiculous. He can't play in goal again.
I just love this dog even takes one off the head at one point. He just doesn't care. And the moment that the puck comes, he immediately saves it. Was Fraser Forster.
You can tell he's on a promise for a doggy biscuit after.
Cootie Prop saying Kulisevsky heritage subs on 46, 48th yellow card.
Yeah, you speak about that a lot, about his yellow cards.
And a game like this, I don't know if I really cared that much, for him picking it up. I didn't think he would get his second yellow or anything, but it is very funny with Kulu how quick he is, to get an unnecessary yellow card. Nathan saying on the ball, Davinson Sanchez had a significantly better half than Radu Dragusin. That's when you know it's bad.
Not saying much.
No, it's definitely not. And that's when you know it's bad.
There was a few times Davinson Sanchez just pumped it straight back to us. Let's not forget that.
The Spurs watch saying, I don't want to hear another word from Dragusin's agent ever again. That's probably what we should just put on the thumbnail.
Yeah. That guy just needs to shut up now.
Dave Ellis, Bentancur.
Rolls Royce. That's why I call him Benton Class, Jack.
Benton Class. John Lee, good to see you with us. Big Pants, good to see you with us. Tala, good to see you with us. Nihat as well. Mark is in here. Gala deserved to win 7-2. Yeah, I think they could have easily won it 7-2 had it not been for some poor finishing at the end there. Riemann Sun, good to see you with us. Also, the Big T, Dragusin makes Dyer look like Pirlo on the ball. Billy saying, can I interest you in El Etihad, brother? When Radu Dragusin's agent said he'll be headed to Madrid in a few years.
It's embarrassing. He's not heading to Madrid playing like that. I can tell you that now.
He's headed to Al Etihad by the looks of things. Gus saying jail time now.
So corrupt yesterday. Honestly, driving me mad. He set Will Lankshear off for 2 yellows, right? But they're right back. What was his name? Sarah. How many challenges did he get away with yesterday when he was on a yellow? Never sent him off. They were just coming straight through the whole of us. The referee saying, come on, get up. As soon as you lay anything on them, he's blowing the whistle. He was intimidated by their fan base yesterday. I think referees are genuinely afraid to give anything against Turkish teams out there.
How many fouls did Davinson Sanchez have as well? I feel like he had probably he had fouled Sonny alone like 4 times in the first half, it felt like, and still never got a call.
Done a few on Lankshear, 1 or 2 on Slanky as well.
Yeah. Welsh Spurs saying half an hour to go. Billy saying, ooh, look at me. I've got a sparkler.
Fireworks are for children. Grow up. Grow up.
Great.
I love throwing that one out there every once in a while. Someone, just grow up.
Ooh, a sparkler. Jake saying, getting battered, but Lankshear got a goal. I'm leaving here with something.
Definitely do Will Lankshear's confidence the world a good bag in that goal. Don't get me wrong, he'll be disappointed and maybe a bit upset about the sending off, but I think today the silver lining is he's proven that he can score at this level. He can be a threat at this level. The likes of that sending off, that's something he'll learn from and probably won't happen again in his career.
I have such a love-hate relationship with this account from Carly. Goals in European competitions this season. Will Lankshear, Kylian Mbappe, both on one. Killian's was a penalty as well, if I'm not mistaken. Zeus saying, even hit the celebration. Lankshearer.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love that. Old school.
Combination
iconic
of Kane,
that. Yeah.
Lankshear. Also his celebration, Dave, where he stood up to the Galatasaray fans. Absolute class from Lankshear. We have a photo of that later. Jake saying, yo, on the real, how bad must Brandon Austin and Alfie Whiteman be?
Yeah. Yeah.
That actually really made me laugh when I saw it last night, because I've been saying that before with Dave. I'm like, I don't know, like Brandon Austin, Alfie Whiteman, if they're not getting in ahead of Fraser Forster, that does say a lot, and also the fact that multiple managers have made that decision. Nuno, never keen on playing them. You look at the likes of Pochettino.
I think Jose played Whiteman once in Europe, didn't he?
Maybe he did. Yeah, maybe he did. But I don't know if it ended up, manifesting itself in more starts or anything. And then Fraser Forster, has pretty much just been clear ahead of these guys in pretty much every single manager's eyes. So you just think, you're just like, these guys, and they've never had any interest, from any other clubs or anything like that. No one's interested in a loan move of any kind. Just seems like they've just been here as homegrown pawns this whole time, and sadly just aren't good enough to really get their opportunities. Billy saying we have 5 left wingers and 4 of them are unavailable for tomorrow, for F's sake. Billy saying as well, no tactical expert, but I think marking Osimhen might be a good idea for the Spurs defense. And then as well, Dave, welcome to hell. Meanwhile, our literal 19-year-old.
I love that one. I love that one. Fair
That's
play, Billy. That's class.
It definitely should go into that account where it's saying Spurs pictures that go hard. I think this one really
Yeah,
should go
yeah.
into that one. Good to see you, Mark Cook. Hopefully you're keeping well. Member of the
Big up,
Mark Army.
Marky.
And then Carly saying, "Are you kidding me with this finish? Very, very lovely finish. We gave it the
Yeah.
praise earlier. It deserves." Billy saying, "It's proper Tottenham to make me angry in a game I didn't even care about."
So true. I was going into the game yesterday, Jack, and I was like, do you know what? It's not really any pressure on us. So just sit back and enjoy
Vibes.
football for what it is. And then 15 minutes in, when we keep doing the same shit, it's just, it drives you insane. He's so right, Billy. He's so right.
Zeus Dragusin.
Oh, yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to go down that far yet, but like I said earlier, I believe you either got the ability on the ball or you don't. I don't think it's something you can bring. And I think ultimately that's what's going to
Hold him back
derail
for
him
now.
at Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah. Nabil saying, "The more I see Dragusin play, the less he looks like a center back suitable for the way that we play. Ben Davies is even light years ahead of Dragusin on the ball." And that's
Yeah,
a fair point. Like Ben
yeah.
Davies does look night and day on the ball in comparison. It's not like Ben Davies is again someone that you really would say is like of a top class of any kind, in possession. I think he's all right, but he's by no means, an elite level center back
No.
or fullback of any kind playing out from the back. He can get flustered himself even, when
Mhm.
put under pressure. And that's the thing. He looks, more comfortable
Yeah.
and more composed than Dragusin by a lot, by a lot. And Ben Davies
Mhm.
can still every now and again pick out a pass. Jake saying, "Getting battered in Turkey and our youth striker scores, but then gets sent off. You may not like it, but this is what peak Europa League looks like right there." That's such a great tweet. So true.
Uh,
So true. Cody Mack, come on, Davidson, give us a little West Ham panic attack here for old time's sake. Did repay us a favor, Dave.
no, I was very disappointed with that. The Davison Sanchez that played for Tottenham clearly didn't replicate itself at Galatasaray anyway.
And then last not least, but Patty with his takeaways from the game, we have no natural leader in the team. Don't blame the kids for this defeat. Forster should not be backup. When under pressure, stop playing out from the back. And then lastly, we will still qualify in the top 8. Any of those that you especially agree with, disagree with, Dave?
Yeah, I agree with it all. I think, no natural leader. It's something I've called out for quite some time in that dressing room. That's when you see the high turnover in managers, coaching staff, players. You got no leaders to put it all together. It's quite clear. Don't blame the kids for this defeat, something I echoed last night, which I'm disappointed to see on social media some Spurs fans going for the kids. I find that very, very disappointing. Forrester, yeah, I agree. Look, it's like put my dad in goals, right? It's absolutely madness. But when under pressure, stop playing out from the back. This I agree with. I said it in the Palace game, Jack, 20 minutes in. We're going to keep playing ourselves into trouble. The room's not there for us. They've copped on to us. Start hitting the balls down the channels, get your wingers involved, and then start pushing them back that way. I thought we could have easily done the same last night. Out wide, there was so much room for us if we just wanted to go longer and stop playing through, but we kept on playing it straight into the midfield. They kept on taking it straight off us. In games like that, I'm not asking them to completely abandon, what Postecoglou wants them to do. But for 5 minutes to stem the flow, hit the channels, win yourself throw-ins, get yourself up the pitch, pin them back, and buy yourself a bit of breather, and then start playing your football. We
Yeah.
just need to be a little bit smarter with it for me. But ultimately, I still think we're coming out top 8 anyway. So, Paddy, great Irishman, think alike, my man.
And really appreciate the support that's just come in for Artist T right before we
Big up,
finish off
Artist.
here. Artist T saying, "We can say this match doesn't matter. We can say this match doesn't matter any way we'd like, but it should go to those playing Maddison, Bissouma, Gray, Berval, and Dragusin should be putting in their best foot forward if they want to get into the first team." It's a
Yeah.
very fair point you make there, Artist T. For some of these guys, this should have been a massive game for them. Maybe for us as fans,
Mm,
we didn't have as much emotional damage or anything
mm.
attached to it, but to these players and their reputations with Ange, to their spots in the team, definitely has taken a hit. Definitely has taken a hit. And he's following up by saying, and to follow up, some of them look like they're a million miles away from being good enough to make that first team. There's no excuse for most of those players. And some of those guys, Maddison, right? Senior pros. Bissouma, senior pro, right? Bissouma looks levels off it in comparison to Bentancur. And Bentancur as well, right, has had multiple setbacks, all these injuries, all these things that have probably made pretty difficult on him to maybe feel like he can get back to his best self.
Mm,
Bissouma just kind of just blows hot and cold. He'll have really good weeks and then he'll have some not so good weeks, but there's no real answer that I think we've found yet, to the
mm,
guy's psyche for why that is. Why is it that he can't just hit elite levels on a consistent basis like we feel like Bentancur is about to do here now that he's finally getting, a consistent amount of time. Bentancur has
becau-
just stolen that position back away from him. And then with Maddison, right? Maddison, an established senior pro, guy that's played at a very high level and we know can play at a high level, single-handedly losing out his spot to Kulusevski already at this point this season. And then Pop Matasar, a young, 22-year-old, 21-year-old, stealing the other position that's available to him. You look at these two guys in particular, I'd say, they really are missing out on their chances. And then Dragusin, he's so young that you have to feel bad for the guy. But his agent, this is the problem. His agent put pressure on him, and his agent and others have really hyped him up to be something different. And he's definitely very different to Romero and Mickey Van de Ven in all the wrong ways. So, Dave, I
mm,
mean, I think Artist T makes a very fair point. For us fans, maybe not the biggest deal in the world. For some of
mm.
these players, maybe a different story.
No, 100%. And I think that's absolutely spot on. Like, as a fan yesterday, none of us were under any pressure going into it and stuff. Sort of just said, look, you know what, last Thursday evening, sit back, see how we get on. That's us fans. But from a player's point of view, of course, it's a huge problem for some of them. Radu Dragusin, no matter how he plays against Ipswich or until Van de Ven comes back, it really doesn't matter because the damage is done yesterday. Look, Jack, it's something I pointed out quite hard early in Dragusin's career. When I remember we played against Newcastle, he went to make a 10-yard pass and pumped it out over the sideline. I remember saying to you during the watch long, I was like, that's Dyer-esque. I'm getting concerned here. A huge opportunity missed from him. And it's going to take him a long, long while to really build that faith from Postecoglou. James Maddison's another one. Look, I've tried to highlight it, with the guy, and I know some people think I'm coming across harsh when I say it about him, but I'm only highlighting what he needs to do before shit like this happens, where he loses his place in the team. And you know, I question Maddison's attitude a little bit. Same with Bissouma. Do the two of them love football, or are they more interested in the lifestyle that football brings? I think they're more interested with the lifestyle that football brings, but enjoy playing football. I don't think they like playing under the pressure. I don't think they dedicate their life or live the way, they should to dedicate everything to the football pitch. Because if Maddison did, quite frank, he would have came back with the same motivation and intensity that Kulusevski did. It's clear one done work before preseason to make sure he was at a certain level, and one just said, I'm going to enjoy myself and I'll come back and use preseason to get up to fitness. You look at Bissouma, most of his problem is he just plays for fun. Even
Yeah.
I've no problem with a guy that's around the club that's enjoying himself. No problem with it. But you better be fucking winning if you're going to do that. This guy isn't enjoying himself too much. You hear so many
It's
stories
almost the wrong
about,
club.
yeah, at Tottenham, at Brighton, stories of his lifestyle outside of football. Okay, that's why he's never going to reach the heights that his ability allows him to do. So, that's why players like them find themselves out the starting lineup right now, and it's not good enough. They've done themselves damage last night. Bergvall as well, to a large degree. Preseason looked great, but I've always said with preseason, there's no pressure, there's no intensity, there's no one tackling you. But as soon as anyone gets physical on the guy, he can't handle it whatsoever. He just gives away straight back the ball. Not good enough from them players' point of view. Really let themselves down last night, and they've only got themselves to blame. What
Yeah.
I don't want to hear now is any of them coming out. I don't want to hear James Maddison coming out moaning why he's not in the team. Basuma, Dragusin, I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm telling you why you're not on the team. If you don't want to listen and you think it's harsh, well, grand, it doesn't bother me because you're the one that's going to be sitting on the bench.
Well, this was such a huge game for them. And Artist T is so right. It was such a huge game for these guys to give something for Ange Postecoglou to think about, make him raise his eyebrows, make him realize, these decisions for picking a starting 11 are a lot tougher than I realized. These guys are really hungry and are actually providing similar quality to the guys that maybe right now I have in my starting 11. Pretty much all those guys that you mentioned there, maybe except Gray, in my opinion. I don't think Gray is ahead of Porro or Destiny Udogie, but I don't think he lost any credibility with Ange after last night's performance.
Mm,
But the rest of those guys that you have in that list there, I think Artist T are in very much danger, really kind of losing a lot of faith from Ange, or just for the time being, losing a lot of faith from him
yeah.
because they just really could not have done any worse, really, in some of their cases. Dragusin could not have played any worse. In the case of Bergvall, he couldn't have played any worse. Maddison needed to step up in a game like this one. He needed to be the guy that could be that maverick in the midfield, guy that could just make things happen for us, get us out of trouble if need be. Just kind of disappeared. The more that everybody kept playing worse, the more that Maddison just kept disappearing. And it's not it's not wholly his fault, because I think he was let down by Bergvall, let down by others, but he needs to find a way to be that distinction, find a way to just show something, in his own right, that maybe sticks out, in a good way compared to maybe the others. And then with Bissouma, just don't know how many more excuses you can give the guy. He's had so much time, to nail down this number 6 role or the number 8 role in this midfield, and he just doesn't seem to be able to do both.
For me,
He's just kind of he's ambiguous. Like, he's just kind of sitting in sort of limbo between, the two roles, and just hasn't been able to nail down any one of them. And
he
a
doesn't
guy who's
care.
had 3 different injuries, 3 different setbacks, has finally come back, given some play time, and it's just absolutely taken that from him.
Bissouma just doesn't care enough, Jack. He doesn't want to nail down one position. He wants to go out there and just play it off the cuff, nice and free. If he really cared about football, there's elements to his games he would tidy up and he'd become one of the best midfielders in world football. He genuinely doesn't care about that. He's just more interested in the lifestyle that comes with it and wants to go out there and play for fun. But what really annoys me about yesterday's game is looking back on it. Even when we made the substitutions, you bring on Sarr, Bentancur, Kulu, Solanke. They come on to bring a different intensity. They come on with a point to prove, even though they have no point to prove. They come on with a point to prove, or play like they have a point to prove. You look at the team that went out there last night, the starting 11. It's like they were a team that went out there and just went through the motions. Not one of the like we allowed 27 shots on our goal last night. Yeah. Not once did you see anyone even stand up out of bloody anger and look around and just start shouting at people, going, "Come on!" You didn't see anyone throw an arm up in anger, nothing like that. Everyone just allowed it to happen, just allowed mistake after mistake after mistake. And you're looking at the lineup there. Okay, for us fans it was different, but a lot of them players, they're all coming out there with a point to prove. They need to try and break into the first 11, and not one of them busted a gut. The only players that busted a gut was Sarr, Bentancur, Kulu, and Solanke, who are all in the first 11. They're the ones that came off the bench and busted a gut, and that's where I get let down.
Yeah, 100%. Well, everyone, I think we're starting to wrap this show up. Jamie McDonald, really appreciate the support.
Jimmy.
I don't see a comment from you, so if it's just a donation, we're very, very thankful. Thank you, my man, for supporting the channel and supporting the community. I don't see a comment from Jamie.
Yeah, it's a number one. It's a number one. It's a super sticker.
It's a super sticker. Okay. Or maybe it's just, I think that is more just something to show that it is their first super chat with the channel or something like that. But appreciate you, Jamie. If you want to throw in a comment, we'd be happy to respond to it and happy to give our opinion, but really appreciate your support for the channel. But yeah, everybody, just a day that I'd agree with Artist T's comment. I think that's the right way to look at it in a more serious note. I don't really care too much about that result. Don't care too much about, the outcome, but you would say that maybe the one thing that we could have looked forward to was, okay, there's some fringe players. Let's see what they're made of. Let's see if they can give, Ange Postecoglou something to think about. Give us something to think about. Pretty much all of those guys let us down. Pretty much all of them let us down. Any one of them that have a serious shot at taking maybe a starting spot away from somebody or making, the decision difficult for Ange, they all pretty much let themselves down. So I think that's the big takeaway.
Nope, 100%. Fair play, Artist T, but bringing a bit of clarity to what happened yesterday right at the end. Really appreciate that, my man, and really appreciate everybody's support for this Twitter Reacts, guys. So disappointed about the manner of performance. Not so much the result. I think Spurs fans can understand it to a degree. It's more so the manner of the performance. But look, we've got a big game this weekend against the Tractor Boys, which we will be previewing. So we'll see you on the next stream for all you lovely members.
Alrighty, everybody. See you next time for the members preview show. Come on, you Spurs. Big Ange we trust. Move